Honestly, in a huge hurry today, doing a time lapse. It is Testy Tuesday, and I'm going to talk about persevering past people who have access to your emotions. You can move past it. It's sunset, it's beautiful, take on the world, look out for the shadows, and it's GoPro time. It's the best time to shoot is the sunset. And Edmonton is actually a very beautiful city that not everyone knows how to appreciate. So let's go check out Edmonton.
Special edition of the Current Review on CBC Radio 1, our 5th public forum on missing.
Hey, so who's ever heard of missing and murdered Aboriginal women? You know, I think that's a topic that a lot of Canadians don't talk about. Missing and murdered Aboriginal women. Like, Canadians actually have a serious issue with women going missing and no one really doing anything about it. Our Canadian Royal Mounted Police have a reputation of kind of letting it slide. So I guess I'm asking who's ever heard of them. So I'm cruising around Edmonton, and so the missing and murdered Aboriginal women there's often relationships to the streets with the missing and Aboriginal women. And so I'm driving around Edmonton, and Edmonton is a Canadian city, and I'm listening to CBC.
Promise to begin an inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Last August, 3 ministers of the Crown stood in this exact place to launch that inquiry. But 7 months later, many concerns have been raised about the inquiry, from its terms of reference to the pace of its work and the way it is communicating with family members. Krista Big Canoe is a lawyer with the National Inquiry into Missing.
So Canadians actually, we've actually recognized that there's a problem, that we treat Aboriginal people differently, and that we need to investigate. We have truth and reconciliation. It's another cultural thing that we have going on in Canada. And I'm wondering what you think about this, actually. I'm wondering if as a Canadian, I don't know, my viewers, do I have viewers who are interested in that subject of missing and Aboriginal women? It interests me because, like, say, a part of my story is that I was a cab driver. So one of the reasons that I actually feel like I know Edmonton is because when I was for 6 years of my life, I drove a barrel taxi around the city. I wrote a blog about the backseat of the taxi, and it was fantastic. I got to know the city better than anyone that I've ever met, and to this day, I consider myself an expert. Actually, so when I originally started, it was during the boom, and that was when I was actually introduced to the streets of Edmonton, which are kind of a gruesome place. And as a cab driver, I was this young kid driving the taxi. I don't know how well you know, but Edmonton has a really, really rough vein that runs through it. So off the Yellowhead onto exiting onto off the Yellowhead, 82nd Street. Even before then, you can exit into Beverly somewhere. Victoria Trail, you take that area, you hit Beverly, you hit 118th Ave, and you start moving towards the inner city up 118th. It's a place where Edmonton, a typical rig pig might pick up their prostitutes. Oh my God, how am I supposed to vlog about this? How am I supposed to talk about the fact that my city, and you know what? When I used to write a blog. So you know what? it's crazy how Canada, as civilized as Canadians think it is a country where people, where there's like psychopath murderers who prey upon people and get away with it, like, and don't even get investigated because police don't care, and police need to be accessed and asked in special ways, subpoenaed to come in to discuss topics, and topics of like sexual assaults and abuse and all those kinds of things. Canadian institutions don't know how to deal with them very well, and I think those are topics that we should definitely bring up. How Canada, as civilized and how first world as it is still looks at a lot of issues blindly. How we need a truth and reconciliation for Aboriginal people, how we need a special inquiry into the into missing and murdered Aboriginal women. That is, think about it. The oil boom when I was driving in 2006 was the beginning of like this influx of all these crazy people that were, I actually got a job driving, and it was actually super lucrative because there was so many people coming in and so many people becoming Edmontonians because of the crazy oil boom. But the people coming in, often Eastern Canadians from out east, and they seemed to be happy-go-lucky, but they really didn't feel a connection to the community of Alberta. They definitely had a really aggressive stance, and the people that solicited my taxi to pick up prostitutes and so on were scary. We're scary people who worked in the trades, who were transient, definitely often Canadian, some of the worst, and definitely over the years you just got to witness a lot of the people that got victimized by that oil trade, and those types of people who came in were Aboriginal. I drove people like tradespeople, contractors, people whose job it was to protect the environment, who in 2006, 7, 8, and 9 were jovial because they were making so much extra money because they didn't have to abide by the rules. They often didn't protect the environment. They came out. I remember driving people it was Babylon. And now when the economy actually is down, it seems a little bit more realistic because people understand that it's a bust environment. It just sucks when you're like a young person trying to, when you're a young person with a little bit of an ideology, and you actually see that your community is being inundated with people coming in to make money and to grow off of where you're from, where you're raising your kid, but they have no respect for that community, and they not only do they not have any respect, but they're there to disrespect it, to pick up drugs, lots of drugs and alcohol. So when you drive up and down 118th Ave, not sure if you necessarily know, but this is a hub of our culture as Edmontonians, and I'm making vlogs about the Arena District. Now I'm going to make a vlog about this. It's a whole district. It's a vein through Edmonton. This whole area that runs through Beverly to up 96th Street to 107th Ave, all the way through to Stony Plain. Onto Stony Plain Road. These weird gaps, this weird vein that it's Edmonton's little secret, actually. And I'm just taking us up for a rip, talking about what it was like when I was a cab driver. Most people don't talk about. On 96th Street, it's next to the police station. The women who frequent and the type of interactions that occur in that area have less to do about drugs than they do about alcohol. And the reason is because alcohol is not illegal, so the police have a hard time, in that it's such a close proximity to the station, and they can be pretty aggressive, and the people don't do drugs. But up 107th Ave, and this is a few years back, but up on 107th Ave, you saw a lot more drug use, a lot more crack dealing, and I'm guessing now you're doing with opioids and pills and injections and needles, because it's further from the police station, and there's less police action. So police action is one of the main focuses, and the police as an institution are being criticized kind of for still maintaining some level of sexism inside of that institution, which is like a really cool thought, you know, culturally. Where do we stand as a country when our most respected authority, our police departments, don't respect women's rights? That's messed up. It's so messed up. And when you're a kid growing up, you have a hard time actually understanding what I'm talking about, because it seems like the world is a really good place, but we're still dealing with really primitive things, like having our police department not be sexist. And you know, it'd be cool to get some reaction from actual people who might be in the police department, or I doubt they actually are allowed on social media. I'm sure that being a police officer means you can't actually speak and you have no voice. So what do Canadians do? Well, we can shine a light on the problem. Man, I want Canada to be a cool nation. I want us to be the best in the world. So let's just get over the stuff like, let's start assimilating our heritage and finding out who we are and fixing the problems. That's the key. It's actually to change and to fix the problems. So let me know what you think, and follow the CBC, because this city needs to shed a light on its dark streets.